is the founder and president of Real Women in Trucking.
Yep.
Desiree, thank you so much for being here in our booth today at MATS 2024.
Great to meet you. Thanks
Yeah.
for the invitation.
Oh my gosh. So when did you get here? Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday
Oh,
morning.
yeah, and you've been working your butt off. I heard you were in the booth. Have you been able to see the show yet? What are your initial thoughts this year?
Oh, well, I can't remember how many years I've been here in a row, but this is my first time to walk into the hall because we've been busy at our booth, and we had a lot of stuff going on this morning with the FMCSA listening session, and then we had a meeting with EEOC today. But this year, the highlight for us in this hall is the Sisters of the Road trailer that's an art gallery at the end of your row that features many of the members of Real Women in Trucking.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that. What is it? What type of art is in there, and how many artists participated this year?
One artist. It's a photography
Okay.
gallery.
Oh, awesome.
And Anne Marie, who's the photographer, is down there with it. It's been on a cross-country tour to arrive here at MATS.
Oh, wow.
She came and did a cross-country road tour and took pictures of working women truck drivers in, I want to say 2017.
Oh, I'm going to have to
something
check that
like
out.
that. So, so it was shown in London, Australia, and then it came to the United States and was assembled in San Francisco, and has traveled to Houston, Bentonville, Arkansas, Little Rock, where they renamed the Petro after one of our founding board members, Idella Hansen, with the art gallery there just the other day before it arrived here at MATS.
Wow. So that's been around. What way to organize that?
Yeah, it's been a big production. One of our other board members is the one who pulled it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her name's Deb Dingo, and she's the one who hauled it here.
How cool. It must have been kind of like a little honor, right? To be able to kind of move that in. I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Real Women in Trucking. I know that you're busy with, personal life. You have what? 2 kids, 6 grandkids,
yeah.
Right? I mean, you used to drive and then got out of it and started Real Women in Trucking. Just, I guess, give me the pitch. What is Real Women in Trucking, and why should I care?
Okay. So I started driving in 2007. My kids had recently grown up, so it was just me at the time.
Okay.
And I was just trying to find something else to do, like empty nest, like don't want to come home to, nothing.
I hear
and
you,
I
yeah.
loved driving right away. Like, really suited my personality. That I like to be in a different place all the time, new challenges. I like to work hard. I wanted to be appreciated for that. But right away, I saw there was a real big problem with the training. It was really unsafe. It was very unsafe for women.
How so?
They expect you to live in the truck with somebody you never met before for weeks at a time unsupervised, which seemed like crazy.
Yeah, that's that's obviously crazy.
So I was like, they also were putting you out before you really knew what you were doing. So I barely had driven around the block 3 times, and now I'm doing team driving in the snow. So I just was like, this cannot be how they teach people how to drive.
Yeah.
I joined a couple organizations seeking help. Had some issues with trainers and co-drivers that were really unsafe, sexual harassment, some violent situations. And the more I talked to other drivers, I started finding out this was very prevalent. There was a lot of sexual assaults happening. Nobody wanted to do anything about it. Joined some other organizations. They were absolutely not interested in doing anything about it. One revoked my membership for talking about it. And I said, I'm going to start my own organization.
But that's all right. There's a lot of people in the world, and there's a lot of people, maybe even myself included, where it's like, oh, that's a big problem. Oh well, like what's like what made you do something about it? I mean, I understand the why, I guess, but wow, I mean, hats off to you. The motivation and honestly the courage to take care of the problem, which in an industry was probably the training was ingrained, right? This is something that's been done year over year, and now you're like, I'm going to disrupt this whole industry, and I'm going to, point out the elephant in the room, kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean that just, you know, where does that come from? Your motivation and your determination to fix a problem like that.
Well,
Is it
when
like
I
a
was,
family
yeah,
thing?
I think I really have to look back at when I was 12 years old. My mother took me out of school and we traveled around to Indian reservations, and we
Wow.
participated in marches with the American Indian movement. We got involved in
Okay,
things.
right there,
I
right there.
have sort of, he's not my official stepfather, but I
Uh-huh.
call him my bonus father, who was an actor
awesome.
by the name of Max Gale. A lot of older people might remember him as Wojciechowicz on Barney Miller.
Okay.
And he used to participate in a lot of protests with Martin Sheen when I was a teenager.
Wow.
So I would see a lot of these celebrities that had absolutely no reason to go on their day off
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Malibu to go get their picture in the paper protesting something. So I was impacted by that.
Yeah.
My dad was also a fisherman, and I remember my dad mobilizing the fishermen to get a fishing dock because the yacht people didn't want the fish coming off on the same dock where they put their pretty boats.
Right.
And
right.
so all of those things impacted me, being the type of person to see something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
do something about it.
So, by doing something about it, you started your own organization. And like, how hard was that to get started? I mean, where do you even begin?
So
You
at
know,
first,
Googling how to start my own
Yeah.
nonprofit.
first it started just as an informal protest group.
Okay.
We just thought, okay, we're gonna, talk about this. We're gonna hold up a mirror to this industry and
Yep.
tell them you are ignoring this. That didn't work.
I was going to say,
They-
how receptive was the industry?
They dug their heels into deny, which they're still doing.
Okay.
Then I said, okay, we got to file the paperwork. And I literally did. I went and got a how to do it yourself book. I sat
Yep.
down and read it cover to cover and filled out the paperwork and had a lawyer look at it and raise the money to send the application in. And we started getting companies calling us almost right away that wanted to participate, but to do it differently than the other organizations.
Yeah.
We had to not chase the money. We had to say, do you want to make a change in this industry, or do you just want to buy a logo and slap it on your website and say you're
I
doing
love that.
something you're not doing?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So we're poor, and the other organizations are bringing in over $1 million, and they're not really doing anything
Yeah.
to help anyone.
Right, but it
a
looked
lot of
good.
companies
Looks
think
good.
they are. So
Yeah, oh
that's
my
kind of
gosh.
where we're at. We have been able to make significant change. We have been to Washington, D.C. Several times, and this industry is still pushing back very hard to address this issue. Thankfully, we have some help now from the National Women's Law Center in Washington, D.C. We have some pretty high-profile lawyers. We've been in touch with the Department of Labor Women's Bureau, who has been helping us to get this industry to address gender-based violence and harassment.
I mean, I just can't imagine
And
what somebody would go
and
through.
that's just one of the topics that we cover. We also have been involved at the truck parking situation since 2009, way before any of the other organizations got involved in it. Hiring discrimination.
Ugh.
And it has been a challenge for sure, because we are just drivers who
Yeah.
are funding this from our pocket, and we all have our own
In your spare
challenges
time.
in our
Yeah.
spare time, which is not very much spare time.
Right, right. And you said that you no longer drive, and you're doing this full time. You just dove in. Are you getting your MBA as we speak, or are you? Is that something that you're working on?
I
I was
actually
reading up on your bio.
Yeah, I actually finished college. In the middle of all this, I shattered my kneecap.
Of course.
So
Of course.
during that time, I returned to college, got my bachelor's, started my graduate program,
Yeah.
and then came to a standstill in one of the classes. So that's sort of
Yeah,
like
it
in
happens.
limbo. I do some expert witness work for some of these sexual assault cases,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also a sub-consultant on some truck parking national projects. So I've moved kind of more into the transportation sector and started talking to people that are more in data and research, and
Yeah.
I find that they love talking to truck drivers.
Right. Well, the horse's mouth.
Like,
it-
they rarely get access to an actual boots on the ground driver, and they love it. So I feel like my time is really more better served there
I can
right
see
now
that.
to like talk to them about maybe their research to say, okay, this doesn't make sense, or this does make sense, and this is why. And so, yeah, I'm kind of been finding like this other way this river is going to get this message out.
What, speaking of your messages, what has been the most impactful message that you've been able to put out so far? Maybe not so maybe
Uh,
it's not so much the message, but what I guess what in the industry, I guess what have you impacted the most? Has it been like the training? Has it been the drivers, or is this all still a struggle to
It,
just
it,
get?
it is still a struggle because there's a lot of people that know the training is bad
Yeah.
and that it's unsafe and that it's insane, but they don't want to do anything because they make money from low wage students running team freight.
Oh,
So
okay.
it doesn't make sense that you would want your least experienced person to do the most dangerous job instead of having your most
That's a,
experienced person that demands premium pay.
right. Well, yeah, and so unfortunately, it's about the money.
It
It's
is
not,
about.
and if you can bypass things, it happens. You
Hmm.
know, but really, like the training, are they teaching, like, uh, like how to deal with fault codes, how to deal with, a flat tire? Like what, like is it training to deal with anything like diagnosing the truck, or is it all just like we're just here's how to drive it, here's how to put the key in to shift?
Yeah, and you don't even have to shift anymore. It's
Oh, right.
automatic. You
Of
got
course, yeah.
you got an automatic restriction on there. So you're a company driver that you they don't want you doing anything to the truck
Good
because
point.
then you're like what if you do something wrong? Now you're liable for what you did to the truck.
Yeah.
So you have gone from the old way of learning how to hear your engine and recognize
Mm-hmm.
something's wrong to be a steering wheel holder. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
I never wanted to, I wanted to learn the old way. I want to learn how to read the map. I want to
Yep.
learn how to do it all. But that's a dying breed now, and they don't really teach that. So even if you have the desire for that, it's very difficult to find somebody that will teach you. We're losing the legacy of some veteran drivers right now that
Oh,
have a lot of
agreed.
knowledge.
Agreed. Yeah, a lot of knowledge that they could pass down
Yeah.
about just different situations, how to deal with. I was talking to a trucker earlier today, and we were talking about going down just a hill, an incline or decline, and it was like, how do you do that with a full load without ruining your brakes? Because we were in California and we were going down a hill, just driving, and then we just smelled this like burning brakes. Like, what
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
And
I'm from California, by the way.
okay, yeah,
I'm California native, and going over the grapevine, and
yep.
you smell that rubber.
Yeah, you're like somebody's
And
burning. What's going on here?
we've seen some horrible accidents of drivers that were not taught how to. They were taught to drive somewhere like Texas, where they don't
Yeah.
have hills, and then they send them to Colorado, and then it's the driver's fault.
Yeah, a bit of a learning curve right there, right?
Like,
Yeah.
that's not how we should do it.
No. Unbelievable. And then they have those, those things that drive off, the catch ya.
Yeah.
That just looks like
Yeah.
not a fun thing to do. It's like last resort. But I guess if you're going down with no brakes, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and the case that I'm talking about, the driver didn't even use that, and I believe we believe it was a language barrier that he didn't understand, because where he comes from, they don't have those kinds of things.
Ah,
He would have
right.
never seen something like that before.
That's true. That's true. And the training, obviously,
all training.
more intense training could help. I mean, what are the changes that you would like to see happen? What would be, if you could change one thing? All right, maybe two things, but we'll just say one thing, just to start, like that would start like the ball rolling down the hill. What do you think it would be?
I would start a graduated CDL training program where it's not you get it all tomorrow.
Okay,
In
right.
this fast track system. And secondly, you would not have to cohabitate with another person you've never met before as a condition of employment.
I mean, right there, right? I mean, I have to share a room with this guy, Jonathan. Jonathan, are you here? This guy snores. No, just kidding. but I couldn't imagine, having to just get stuck in there, especially as a woman, which is some random.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's just weird to me, and I can't believe that happens.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it.
What? So it almost. I mean, this is kind of a funny pun, but it's an uphill battle for women. But why do you think women still try to get into the trucking industry? If it's so hard, if it's like you're gonna get in here, it's gonna be a struggle. You're gonna get, like we had Dominique, the dump truck driver here, and she was like, I feel like being a woman is an advantage.
I mean, I love the job as soon as I started it. I'm like, I can do this. This is awesome. I have a lot of problem solving skills. I've had a hard life.
She mentioned that truck driving equals problem solving.
Yeah, I mean, I had a hard life before I came to trucking. You're gonna be hard pressed to stump me on how to figure out how to get out of something.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was a natural for it,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of women are naturals for it. A determined woman, some people say, oh, you're going to scare them off if you tell them about all this. No, you're going to prepare them.
Ooh, I like that.
And
I like that.
And if you're determined to get something done, you're going to get it done. So arm them with the information, tell them the right path to go, not the, Camp Snoopy way to go.
Well, that brings up a good point. What advice would you have for a woman, I guess at any age, starting out, just like wants to do it? Where do they go first?
Go to a community college to get your CDL training. Do not go to company-sponsored training. Do not go to some CDL mill. And then find a starter company that does not require team driving as a phase of training, nor do they push lease purchase trucks on the students.
Oh, that sounds expensive. It's like a student loan, right?
It's like employer-driven debt that they
Yeah.
indoctrinate you to from day one to make you think you're an independent when you're really not an independent. You're just paying for a truck that you're probably never ever going to get the title to.
Yeah. Well, a lot of negative things. What are the things that you loved about trucking?
I love
when
the
you
travel.
were doing it.
I
Yeah.
love going different places, going to little tiny towns I would have never got off the interstate to see if I was just on a road trip. I love meeting the people in all of these small towns and finding how similar we really all are, even
Right.
though we are such a divided country right now.
That's a great point.
Being in all the different weather, even though I'm, a Southern California beach girl.
Oh my gosh. Where it's 80 degrees constantly.
Yeah, I had to learn how to go out when it's below freezing and figure it out.
Well, we're
cook
from
me the-
Michigan, so we understand the cold. I guess
so
it's 10 degrees there right now. I don't know. It could be snowing.
That was just such a wonderful time. Sometimes I'd go somewhere in the winter. I'd be back there in the spring. I'd see the little ducklings, and then the next year, they're all frozen over pond where they live. And I really enjoyed seeing this country and some of the places and the scenery that no one else is but me to see.
Yeah. So we're here at the 2024 Matt's Show, everybody. We're here with Desiree Wood from Real Women in Trucking. And I just forgot my question I was going to ask you. So you were talking about friends, meeting them over the road. And I was like, is this like a Disneyland for truckers? Is this like this is like your playground? And you had mentioned, yeah, to a point, but there is a camaraderie, because you guys are driving. Sometimes you don't even know that you passed your friend, and then but this is almost like a family reunion.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Something about Jenga or something. We had mentioned that.
Yeah, we have one night we all get together to play Jenga after the show.
And
with a bunch
these
of
are
other
all
drivers,
fellow
men,
drivers.
women,
Yeah.
old, young. It's been a fun thing that we do. We've gotten a high tower. We get a high tower last year. I mean, we got a big one. But, the first years that I came here, the truck parking community, they would have this big tent out there with a big kitchen.
Yeah.
And they would make food for the drivers, and it was a $5 donation. And if you didn't have $5, it was okay. Just get yourself some food.
I mean, that is
Breakfast,
so cool.
lunch, and dinner. A little place where you could sit out and have a little fire and sit around in chairs and talk. I mean, every kind of shape, size, color, everything. Driver out there, just enjoying being with other drivers, talking. And once a year have that time. Now that truck parking area isn't around anymore. It was the Papa John's lot, and we don't have that food tent anymore.
Yeah.
But it was such a wonderful time to see these drivers that some of them had known each other 30 years, and this was the one place they would see each other each year and just like hang out. And that was like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
So there's nothing like that right now where you can go and just like central place, or is everybody just hanging out at the hotel?
There is a truck parking community now that's a little bit closer to the gate. I
Okay.
don't know that it still has the same warmth as it did back then.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah, things
just
change.
that kind of village feel, which is, kind of a sad thing. We're staying in hotels now, but we're still getting together, and we're still having a lot of people stop by our booth and give us a hug. And,
Yeah.
we all have our own little different deal that we're doing, but we all know each other and appreciate each other and get to see each other. Social media kind of started when I came on the road in 2007.
Yeah.
I was one of the first truck drivers on Twitter and YouTube.
Oh, really?
I got burned out real quick. I'm Trucker Desiree on there. I'd go on there and rant and rave every day. But it didn't take me long to get burned out on it. Now,
Yeah,
today,
it's
some
a-
of these
it's a-
people have
it's a
turned
grind.
it into something completely different. I use my influence for advocacy to improve this industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not about me. It's not about my ego. It's about the cause. So that's kind of my thing, is to encourage these other drivers, like, talk about something important.
Yeah. Well, give a meaningful discussion.
Yeah.
Give meaningful information to
Yeah.
a demographic or somebody that needs it.
Yeah.
Or that didn't know that they needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like starting just that mindset. Initializing change.
Right.
And that's the different way that people are thinking, the different mindset of the industry. But that's a huge,
Yeah.
that's a huge push. That's a huge ask. I mean, what keeps you motivated?
There's so many times I'm just like, I just gotta go back and ride my bike and
Yeah.
check out of this.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then I'll
I'm
get
done.
and then somebody will call me and they'll say, I just found you on the internet. This just happened to me. You're the only one that I can call, and I'll talk to them on the phone. They're like, thank you so much. I haven't had anybody else I could talk to about this. I'm like, all right, if it's just one person that I'm helping, or two
Oh,
people, or
right.
15 people, that's worth it, because I know what it's like to feel alone in that truck, and there's no one that will help you. Nobody wants to stick their neck out. Nobody wants to get involved. And that's a lonely place to be, especially when you're isolated in a truck in a strange town where you don't know anybody.
And that's one of the things. This isn't a big pitch for our product, but we try to enable the DIY diagnostic, the DIY person, really. So you get a fault code, you get a check engine light on, you don't know where you are, or you're in a place by yourself. Instead of calling the mechanic, our product can enable you to at least see what the issue is, and then you can decide whether you can make it to a mechanic or you can finish your route. And it gives you that information to be able to diagnose it yourself, instead of
Yeah.
relying on a dealer or, a tow truck. The cost of that. Have you been towed?
That is a big deal for a woman truck driver, because you are a walking checkbook, just like you are with a car.
That's a
So
great
when
line.
when
Yeah.
I had my own truck, I can't tell you how many times I got something on my dashboard, and I'm on YouTube taking a picture, putting it in Google Lens,
Yeah.
trying to figure out,
Right.
what is this? Can I move this truck?
Yeah.
Am I going to kill it if I move an inch? What's
And that's
the
a
deal?
big deal.
Yeah, it's
if-
gigantic.
Have you ever missed a load, or because wouldn't that be the worst thing? Especially if you're an owner operator, that's your reputation.
Yeah, it is, and I have had a couple of close calls that I was able to get out of, but sure, you never know. I remember right before I went to be an owner operator, at my last company load, I was hauling plants, and I was in the middle of West Texas where there's no phone service really.
Okay.
And a nail at a rest area went through my tire, and it came off the rim, and of course, the company was able to get them service to get a service truck out there.
Yeah.
But right away, I was like, okay, when this is my truck, this is going to be like $600 or $700 right now, just
Yeah.
out the door for,
Yep.
for a potty stop.
That
And that can happen anytime, any place. So it is a big deal to be able to diagnose things and learn how to take care of as many things you can on your own
And-
without having
yes.
to go to a shop.
Right, and this product was made by. Hello, yeah. This product was made out of the fact that our owner, CEO, Jason Chice, he's actually over there in the black shirt. He's a diesel mechanic, or was a diesel mechanic. I don't know if it's like the military where you're once a diesel mechanic, always a diesel mechanic, but he's diesel mechanic, and he found that he would see that people would come into the shop, and to reset a fault code or to force a regen, the money that they were being charged, he's like, wow, they're just being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And why not create? I mean, kind of a motivated person, like why not create a product that enables the driver to put the diagnostics in their hands? Maybe they don't have to go to the dealer. Maybe it's just a ghost code, that type of thing. So,
Yeah, that's
What-
a big deal.
do you think the industry is easier now or harder for a woman to get into it?
There's a very low barrier to entry to get into this industry. Too low.
Some people said as long as you had a pulse,
Yeah.
that would.
Yeah, exactly. But it's hard to stay in it.
Oh, interesting.
Hard to stay in it. And if you can get through that first year and you can cool your jets
Yeah.
to really learn what it takes to be a true owner operator, not a lease purchase, not like the real deal, under your own authority, and you're doing your own stuff. You can make some serious money and change your life. You can go from being homeless to a homeowner. But a lot of people want to rush it,
Yeah.
and they don't want to, understand all of the intricacies to these engines and products.
It's the
and
instant gratification
new-
of millennials. That's
yeah,
the problem.
the new, all of these new technologies are going to have bugs, and there's going to have to be a learning curve time to figure them out, what works and what doesn't, because so many, it becomes overwhelming. Like, what's the difference between this one and that one, and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Well, trucks are complicated, and driving, to learning a truck, they're only going to get more and more, I guess, complicated, with all the
Yeah.
digital stuff that's going on it. And
I'd
so,
like to see more clinics to
Okay.
teach,
Yeah.
especially women, clinics that are sponsored to teach them some of the little basic things that you might need to do on your own that you could save some money.
That's a great
Because that's
idea.
really, really something that's lacking, that there's women that would like to learn how to do some of these basic skills, but there's nobody teaching that.
I could see that. Like, you get in your truck and it throws a fault code, or your check engine's on.
Yeah.
And then you check it out. You're like, oh, it's a knock sensor or something. Whatever. At least you know what it is, and that kind of empowers you with that information. Or how do you? I don't know. What do you do in a situation X?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You could get really specific with all the different clinics.
Yes, you could.
So was it difficult to become a nonprofit? Because I think that's a big deal.
It was, you file the application, and I guess the hardest thing for us is that we wanted to be different
Yeah.
and be real drivers, not corporate people that use the picture of women truck drivers to advance their agenda and
Is
get
it
money.
hard?
The problem with that is truck drivers know how to truck. They don't know how to fundraise, and they don't know how to write letters and all that, guys. So that is definitely been the hard part. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you need that's funny because truckers know how to truck. Yeah, you should just be getting a bunch of billboards on your trucks, right? If you needed help on anything, if you needed I guess what are you in the most need of in the organization? Is it like marketing like that? Is it more people that can do? Is it more people like you? Do you need to duplicate yourself?
Yeah, we need funding right now
Funding,
to keep
of
going.
course. Yeah.
But getting, probably one of the most surprising things is there's the cool factor to being a woman truck driver, but I find that they're very shy. So
Interesting.
it's very hard to get them to come out of their shell and be brave
Mm-hmm.
and say what they say behind closed doors that they know is true that needs to be said.
Yeah.
So when we have like an event, like a listening session, or we're asked to speak,
Can you talk about a
publicly-
listening session? What's
so,
that entail?
Yeah, it's like get CSA about something that's a tough topic, like sexual assault.
Right. Right.
Today I walked in on the one for the truck leasing thing, and I went in and said my thing and walked out. But I've been to many of them over the years. It's very difficult to get some of the other. There's a lot of blacklisting in this industry, so that's one reason. Nobody wants to out themselves.
No.
They're afraid if they say what brokers have treated them bad or what shippers have treated them bad, they won't get another load. So there's a lot of fear associated with speaking out. So being encouraging, being brave, and finding a staff who can take trauma calls and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
be trained to the proper way to talk to somebody that's in distress,
Okay.
that's maybe having difficulty articulating what happened to them, and then navigating help for them and finding resources. Like
Yeah.
when a lot of times when women call us for help, I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to get a lawyer to take their case, and I can't guarantee they're going to want a lawyer. Sometimes they just want to keep driving. They
Yeah.
want to keep their job.
Right.
They don't want all this trouble, but they feel like they got to tell somebody. So it's been hard to listen to some of the things that have happened to women, and they don't want to come forward. They just wanted to tell me.
Oh, right.
And-
That's got to be tough, because those calls, those emails probably come at all hours of the day, all hours of the night. Christmas Eve, it could happen at any
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I'm a fighter, so I want to fight. And when somebody says I don't want to fight, I just wanted somebody to talk to about this, I'm like, okay, and I got to accept that.
So have you felt some resistance now that you've kind of put yourself out there as this organization, as the leader?
When I first started this, I got death threats. So there
That's
was a lot of
crazy.
resistance in the beginning. A lot of people did not like that I was talking about these things. Today, a lot of people know who I am. They were happy I came to the truck leasing. They were like, good comments. Thank you for, like I was able to hit all the points and walk in and walk
good for
out.
you.
So it's like a different thing today. I would say that the big lobby groups of this industry still work very hard to spin the narrative in their favor to protect some of these bad companies. But we're not going to stop until, we get this nailed down.
I would think that, you would just want everybody to play nice together, right?
Yeah, you'd think everybody
Rising
wants
tides.
to, raise the standard,
Yeah, yeah.
You'd think that, but
Well, it's like there's such a shortage of drivers, but there's such
there's
a
not a shortage.
right?
There's not a shortage of
Right.
drivers.
It's
There's
so-
no driver shortage. But by saying there's a driver shortage, it feeds these schools with more inexperienced
So let's talk
people.
about that. But that's what I read. That's what I hear in the
They're
news.
always going to say there's a driver shortage because that makes more people come to be truck drivers who will work cheap. So what they should be investing in is the experienced level drivers to keep these veterans in here and keep this a safe industry, but they invest in inexperience. So that's like a whole other hour conversation. But
Wow.
go talk to a truck driver about
Yeah,
the truck driver shortage, and you're going to get a wince.
Yeah, you guys are just like, nope, that's not true at all.
Yeah.
What truck did you used to drive?
Kenworth.
Kenworth. Is that it? Are you a
I
Kenworth?
mean, I had a freight liner for the longest time so I started speaking out about this industry at my starter company.
Okay.
I was interviewed by Dan Rather within the first few months in my truck parked, and they couldn't fire me because I never moved the truck. He was not an unauthorized passenger. I did not drive with him in the truck.
Oh wow.
I also knew that I'd be blacklisted if I left that company, so I stayed there and I continued to blog about what was going on, and they couldn't touch me. I stayed there for 4 years until I shattered my kneecap. So
Unbelievable. Were
I
you like,
just
when you did that interview,
they-
were you like, this is it? This
Yeah,
is
I
going to
was
change
like,
my
oh.
life forever.
Yeah,
Here we go.
yeah.
Like, it's...
And so the funny thing is everybody got a new truck but me. They never gave me a new truck, so I had that old 2006 all the way up until 2010 when I shattered my kneecap. And I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Like all the other drivers were getting the new trucks with the new. That's when they first started putting in DEF.
Oh, yeah.
And all their trucks were going down, brand new trucks. And they'd be in the shop, and mine just kept going. I mean, it started every time. So I didn't have a problem having an old Freightliner. And then when I got my own truck, it was a Kenworth, and yeah. So I think when I first entered trucking, I was like, I gotta have this kind of truck, and it's gotta
Yeah.
be this color, and it's gotta be
Yeah.
like this. But the reality is, you want one that starts, that you go pick up the load, deliver the load,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about it.
How many people are in your organization right now?
We have a couple hundred members. We
Oh,
don't have
that's awesome.
a lot of members. We don't push membership because members want benefits, and we don't really have the funding to provide. It's like a whole staff to provide member benefits and everything. So we've kind of become like a watchdog group.
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
you know, and we're asking our members and our mission supporters to support our advocacy work to keep it going.
Yep.
You know, and we're trying to figure out how we can be like that more watchdog over this this industry. You know.
Do you guys hold meetings, or is it all? I mean, I'm sure it's online, you know. But
yeah, we had an annual cruise for a while, and then
Oh, that's awesome.
have had some. We had an annual awards, which we had
Cool.
for several years. I think 6 or 7 years. We're currently looking for a corporate sponsor for that or a new home, because we think it's an important award to recognize women in this industry. We didn't have it this year because of the lack of funding.
Yeah.
But we really hope that it's something that comes back.
Let's
time,
talk about
just,
the queen of the road. Maybe somebody will hear it and
Yeah.
will be interested. What was it?
We started it in 2017. It's the first dignified award ever created for women truck drivers.
Okay.
Before that, all they had was a Most Beautiful award, which was like the most tone-deaf thing I'd ever heard of in my entire life.
That is-
And it was very hard to get this industry to part ways with that. So
Wow.
we effectively killed that by launching these awards. And to minimize bias, we asked people to submit a bio about an extraordinary woman truck driver that
Cool.
overcame a lot of obstacles, but also was giving back to a community in some way or fashion.
yeah.
And we did not put their picture in it. So you would vote
That's-
on the
that's
person
great.
from their story that was submitted, not from their physical appearance.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's how we
I love that.
that's how we did it. So
of the road. That's
yeah,
cool.
so we did it here at Matt's last year. This year we weren't able to do it. We hope someday to bring it back.
That's really cool. What are your plans for the rest of the show? Talk.
One of our board members is being inducted into the Matt's Hall of Fame
Is
this
that the one
evening.
from Michigan? Because you mentioned you were one of the
No,
members.
you know, she don't, my board member from Michigan didn't get to come. Her doggy is not doing good. So she didn't get to come. Idella Hansen is one of our founding board members. She's been driving over 55 years.
Wow.
She's a true veteran of this industry, and she's being inducted into the Mid-America Truck Show Hall of Fame at 6 p.m. in the main lobby.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so we're going to be there for that.
Wow.
And after this, I'm going to go over to that Sisters of the Road art gallery trailer and host over there.
Yeah, I gotta check that out
Yeah,
for sure.
it's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
tomorrow, I can't remember.
Right. Well, it all
It's like-
blends together.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to be at our booth as much as possible and talk to people. We're trying to get women drivers to come talk to us if they've been put on a waiting list for training.
Right.
That's a big thing. We have a big case against that, hiring
Oh, wow.
discrimination right now, where they're being put on a waiting list. And we have a documentary, feature-length documentary coming out about our work in a couple months.
Really?
It's called Driver, and we can't say where it's going to premiere. All we can say is in April you will start hearing some press about it.
It starts with a Netflix and ends with a no.
No, it's going to be at a major film festival. That's all I can say right now.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. This is OTR Performance. We are here at the Matt's 2024 show. That's 2024 show.
Yeah.
And we're here with Desiree Wood from the Real Women in Trucking. Desiree, did you have anything else to add? Anything that where can people find you guys, and how can they get involved? Companies or women too.
Well, our website is www.realwomenintrucking.org. Our social media tags for Instagram, TikTok, and X. But I have to say Twitter.
Twitter, aka X.
Always Twitter to me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. He ruined it.
Is at Women Truckers.
Cool.
And then we have a LinkedIn page and Facebook that's Real Women in Trucking. And if we're streaming on our YouTube, that's called Women Truckers Network. There's a lot of informational videos on that YouTube for you to know your rights. We want drivers to know their rights so that they can fight back. I want to thank two of our members right here, a board member, Natalie, right there in Cabover. It's coming there streaming for me. Yeah, they're big TikTokers, and I'm so happy they're here to help us out. They, I got, like I said, burned out on social media, but they're really great at it, and they do a lot with it still. And
that was kind of another question, like how do you stay? How are you using technology for your benefit?
Well, that's how I started Twitter, and within a few months I was on national television.
That is
But it didn't
crazy.
take me long I was in a QuickBooks commercial, I was in the Twitter documentary, like I very quickly was like, whoosh.
Wow.
But it just was too, for me it was like a little bit like I was over it.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we getting the message of the issue out, or do you just want to take pictures of a woman truck driver?
Oh, here's a woman truck driver.
Yeah,
She's
I just
cool.
like for
She's
me, I'm like,
fighting
what are we
for
talking?
women.
Yeah, what are we talking about here?
Am I doing any change?
Yeah. So for me, it's if I'm not going to be able to share my message, then I'm not interested. I don't really want to talk about what kind of makeup I use or anything like that.
Kidding.
So that's what's important to me. But connecting to the younger drivers who they don't read blogs.
Right.
They don't want to watch an informational video that's longer than 2 minutes. At first, I was like, when you're a truck driver, you're going to be out there by yourself at some point.
Yeah.
You have to research. You need to be able to learn. And you've got to find out how to find that information. So
that's how you will progress.
Yeah. So I was very resistant at first, but then I'm like, okay, let's start chopping this up into bite-sized pieces. And Natalie's been a good person and my son is a TikToker. He's like, say what you got to say, get it done in 2 minutes.
I know.
Like,
the shorter, the better. Yeah.
So
just kind of knock it out. Right.
So I'm evolving.
Okay.
I'm learning how to get it done in 2 minutes instead of 30 minutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's funny. It's sometimes it's kind of hard to summarize everything you want into 160 characters or whatever.
Yeah.
So what's the best way for folks to get involved or to help out?
Well, they can visit our website. There's a donate now button.
Okay,
They can
so
make
donating.
like a one-time donation. They can make a small recurring donation. They can retweet or share our content on any of our social media.
Okay, yeah, that would help.
If they look at our YouTube channel and they see something that will apply to a friend who's misclassified or been sexually assaulted or has got DAC abuse, inform other drivers.
Right.
Inform other drivers about get involved in your industry. Educate yourself on this industry. So that's kind of our big thing. It doesn't have to be money. You could share the message in your network with your followers of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I think that's an easy way to get involved and to make an impact for you guys. Well, Desiree, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast. Again, we are OTR Performance here at the MATS 2024 show, speaking with Desiree Wood from the Real Women in Trucking. Guys, check them out. Get involved. And we'll see you next time. And hey, good luck in your Jenga.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks
take
for
care.
letting me come talk. Bye-bye.
Thank you.